This is Masechet Kiddushin, Daf Lamed Bet Amud Aleph, and the second Tosfot on the page, Dibur Marchil, Oru Le Rabbanon Rav Yirmiyah, Commander Amar Mishel Av. The Talmud is having debate whether the financial responsibility to pay for the expenses associated with Kibbud Av V'Eim are to be paid by the child or by the parent. And here there's a ruling by the Chachamim to follow the opinion Mishel Av that the father, the parent, is responsible to foot that bill. Tosfot says mashma that our Gemara implies shakach halacha, that this is the actual psak halacha. The Gemara doesn't have a formal conclusion, but Tosfot interprets that this line is the most conclusive line of the sugya, and we paskin that it is Mishel Av. V'chein pasak b'sheiltos Rabbi Chai b'parshat Vayishma, and Tosfot says further evidence is that the sheiltos of Rabbi Chai on the parsha Vayishma Yisro, Parshas Yisro, also rules that we paskin Mishel Av. Upasak, and the sheiltos also rules heichad le'la'av ve'it le'leben chayev haben la'zun aviv, and the sheiltos also rules that in a situation where the father or mother has no money and the child does have money, then the child is responsible to pay for the support of the parents. In other words, even though we follow the opinion Mishel Av, and it's a parent's responsibility to pay for their own expenses, nevertheless, if the parent doesn't have the money and the child does have the money, the child is obligated to pay for the parent. V'chein pasak ri v'rach, and the ri and Rabbi Hananel also rule this way. V'im'ein la'av mamon, v'im'ein la'av mamon, that if the father does not have money, v'aben yesh la'mamon, and the child does have money, tzarech haben leparnaso mishalo, the child is responsible to pay with his own money, to lo yehi ela acher, because he should be no less responsible than a stranger. Meaning, here the Ri and the Rach support the same halacha and also give a reason that even a stranger is responsible to pay tzedakah to support the needs of someone in need. Certainly, the child who is related to his parent, even aside from the obligation of Kibbud Av V'Eim, would still have to pay for the parent's living expenses as a form of the tzedakah responsibility. K'da'amar b'nara shel patza, like there's evidence in the Gemara Ketubot, the Rav ach pei lahu gavra, that Rav forced a particular person v'afik minei arba meya zuzah l'tzedakah, and forced him to pay 400 zuz for tzedakah. Here, the Gemara in Ksubos is actually talking about the reverse. It's speaking about a parent being forced to pay for the needs of a child. But Tosfot's point is that the mitzvah of tzedakah is so important and so obligatory that Rav actually forced someone to pay tzedakah, because if it's a close relative, in the case of the Gemara, a parent, they bear the primary responsibility of tzedakah towards a relative, towards a child, and Tosfot thinks that the same thing is true of a child towards a parent. That if the child is in the position to support the parent, and the parent needs it, the obligation of tzedakah would obligate the child to pay for that support. V'od, another proof, the Amri Rabbi Yushalmi from the Talmud Yushalmi, Amar Rabbi Yossi, halavai tahavin kol shmaita tibiriyarali, kahach to kovenet aben lazunat aviv. Furthermore, the Yushalmi says that if only all my teachings would be as clear to me, barurli, kahach to kovenet aben, like the ruling that we force a child lazunat aviv to support his parent who's in need. So here the Yerushalmi is explicit that a child is responsible to pay to support the parent if there's a need. V'od raya, and another proof, mehad amar b'Yerushalmi, because the Yerushalmi says, Rabbi Yonatan, Rabbi Yoshia have a ka'azli ba'orcha. Rabbi Yonatan and Rabbi Yoshia were traveling on the road. Atahu gavra v'kanashik l'karei to Rabbi Yonatan. A certain individual came and started kissing the feet of Rav Yonatan. Amar my high. So Rav Yosha asked, "What's going on?" Amar lei da'amri lei zil tza'og b'beit knishta, because I told them to go out and scream in the shul. Kilomar, Tosfot explains the Yerushalmi. Horeiti lo, I taught, I instructed, I ruled. Sheyasa kol kach, that he should go this far. Sheyfar nesenu beno, that his child has to support the parent. I told them to announce in the shul that this child, to shame the child into supporting the parent. So the parent was so happy that I was effective, that he was so happy. He kissed me. Amrle, Rav Yosha responded, Amai lo achve. Why did you only shame the child? Why didn't you actually force him? Amrle kigonzek kofin bitmiya. A question. Do you really force in the situation? Amrle at shricha l'kach. He responded, Rav Yosha responded, you need this. Perush, which means v'chi lo yadata de kofin, pshita de kofin. What the response means, according to Tosfot, of course we force to pay for the parent's needs. So, further evidence that a child is obligated to pay for the needs of the parent. V'od raya me'Yerushalmi, and another proof from the Talmud Yerushalmi, she'aveitu l'mala, from the one quoted above, that we know, the Yerushalmi quotes a pasuk that we have to respect God with our wealth. Mehonecha, with your wealth. Im yesh lo ma'man chayiv, im lav pater, which implies if you have the money to respect God and to do His mitzvah that costs money, then you should do it. If you don't have the money to afford the mitzvah that honors God, so then you're exempt from the mitzvah. Ubekiv al-ava'im ne'amar kabeirat avicha v'temechad. However, the Yerushalmi says that when it comes to kibbut avayim, it doesn't say from your wealth. It just says, unequivocally, respect your parents. The mashma, which could imply, bein yesh lohon, bein lohon. Whether the child has the money, or whether the child doesn't have the money. Either way, the child is responsible to do kibbut avayim. And Tosfot seems to be proving from here that a child is responsible even to beg for money to support his parent if there's a need. So thus Tosfot proves that a child is responsible to spend the money if he needs to, if the parent needs it. In this last proof, Tosfot goes even further, and the Mefarshim are bothered by this, that in this last proof, not only is it the case that the child has to pay when he has money and the parent doesn't, but even if he doesn't have money, he has to find the money, beg for the money. But regardless, Tosfot's main point is twofold. First of all, we paskin Mishel Av, we paskin that it's the parent's responsibility to support himself, and the child has to help the parent go shopping, help the parent find food, etc., but the parent has to pay for that. And nevertheless, there's a major qualification that if the parent doesn't have money, that it's incumbent upon the child as a form of tzedakah to provide all those needs financially, and Tosfot brings multiple proofs to prove that this is the case, that the child has to pay when there is a need.